If you inherited a privately held oil and chemical company from your dad and you and your brother are each one of the richest men on earth and you decided to spend that money trying to make over American politics in your own conservative image and in a way that benefits your own enormous interests, then what is time to you, really? I mean, most people competing in normal American political terms have to wait until they're within a few weeks, at least a few months of their election before they start buying tens of millions of dollars worth of TV time to try to influence that election, to trash the other side or to exalt their own side. But if you're not operating on normal American political terms, if you are the Koch brothers, say, well, then time is money, and you've got all the money, and that means that time is always on your side. So while everybody else in the country, outside of Florida's 13th congressional district, does not feel like we are having an election right now or anytime soon, in places where the Koch brothers have decided to throw their weight and their money around, it has not been just weeks already, but months already, where they're already running ads all over the country. Not just for a special election here or there. These are ads for the November election, and they're running more than a half year in advance, trying to soften up Democratic candidates, trying to hurt poll numbers and public opinion on Democratic issues. And when you have got all the money in the world, you can pay for good ads. You can at least pay for effective ads. And this is an example of one of their effective ads. A Koch brothers funded group called Americans for Prosperity has been running this ad in Michigan to try to hurt the U.S. Senate prospects of Congressman Gary Peters, who's running as a Democrat in the November election. This is a well-done, emotionally effective ad. The woman in this ad lives in Michigan. She tells about getting a diagnosis for leukemia and then having her old health insurance policy canceled under Obamacare. She then says with the new insurance that she can buy under health reform, her treatment is, quote, unaffordable. She says without her medication, quote, I will die. The ad is very tough. It's riveting. And, you know, she is a real person facing a real illness. And may the woman who is in this ad get well soon. Nobody wishes her anything but the best. But even though that ad remains effective, it is still turning out to be a big embarrassment for the Koch-funded group that made it, and potentially a big political problem, not just for them, but also more broadly for the Republicans who are trying to capitalize on these Koch-funded groups that are making these ads and running these campaigns. Right after the ad appeared, the Washington Post fact-checked it. They reported that the woman was eligible, actually, for a new plan that would include her doctor who she liked, and it would also cut her monthly premiums in half. The paper learned about the way cheaper premiums because before she appeared in the ad, she had talked about them to the local Detroit News, which the Detroit News also noticed when another ad, a different ad suggesting a different outcome, started running on their local TV sets. The new ad, quote, is making representations that aren't consistent with what she told the Detroit News 3 weeks ago in an interview. The Detroit News kept digging. Yesterday, the paper ran another headline. Look, patient who called healthcare unaffordable will save more than $1,000. Continuing, quote, the new plan will save her at least $1,200 compared with her former insurance plan. When advised of the details of her new plan, the patient said the idea that it would be cheaper, quote, can't be true. She said, quote, I personally do not believe that. Some things are apparently not believable when you don't want to believe them. Koch brothers say they are not responsible for that ad. We asked them about it today. They referred us to Americans for Prosperity, which produced the ad and which they fund. Americans for Prosperity told us the woman liked her old plan. We asked them if they had heard anything from the Koch brothers about the ad being debunked. We did not get an answer to that. Over the past few weeks in Washington, Democrats have talked about holding the Kochs accountable for the campaigns they fund and the ads their money buys. Though it's not always obvious when Koch money is involved or when the ads are not telling the truth. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has made a point lately of calling out the Koch brothers for false and misleading ads about Obamacare. It's kind of his new thing in Washington. But on the ground, in the states where it matters, can Democrats do anything to match the Koch's campaign? Can they make a meaningful counterattack even when the Koch's ads are false? The answer may start in Alaska with this new Democratic ad from Senator Mark Begich.
First, it was a D.C. actress pretending to be an Alaskan. Now, ads attacking Mark Begich on a carbon tax have been called false and not true. Who's behind the attacks?
The Koch brothers.
The billionaire Koch brothers.
I do not believe it.
They come into our town, buy a refinery.
Just running it into the ground.
Leaving a mess.
A lot of Alaskans are losing jobs, and I'm definitely concerned about the drinking water.
I don't go down to tell them what to do. I expect them not to come up to Alaska and tell us what to do.
Look, nobody on the Democratic side has the fully formed strategy or the ability to spend infinitely that the Koch brothers had. But that new ad for Mark Begich is kind of a good ad. Are the Democrats just going to do that here and there where they can afford to? Are they going to be able to match the Kochs ad for ad, make the Kochs false ads about health care actually hurt them? The response in that Senate race up in Alaska is the first sign that the Democrats might actually have an effective counterattack planned. Can they do this everywhere? Because the Kochs are playing everywhere. That's the game now. That is 2014.